Welcome to This Old App, a podcast about learning, coding, smashing stuff together, breaking things apart, startups, failing, winning, and any other buzzwords we can think of.
Hey, Randy. So I think today I want to talk a little bit about planning for what's coming up in the upcoming year on my side and see what you've got going on as well. But before we dive into that, wanted to do a quick announcement for the audience that Mark Thompson's released the Totally Strong app, both on Apple and on Android.
Yeah.
So real happy that he was able to get it out there in the world. He sounds like he had a really good reception to the news that it came out. So yeah, that's awesome that he was able to get it out in the world.
Well, I'll say I downloaded the app on iPhone, gave it a shot, took a look at it. He, like some of the things he talked about, he went through a process with two designers, I think. The end results were great. Oftentimes you see an app launch and I would say the artwork is questionable. It's very much a prototype level type of art. And we're not talking anything fancy. We're talking about really a good logo and really good iconography, I guess is maybe the term. For what he's doing with Totally Strong, it looks really solid. On the other side, I like the simplicity of it. So many workout apps that I've ever downloaded are just trying to do way too many things. I don't need half of the tracking to connect to a million different devices. And if you want to set up a workout and keep track of what you're doing, I really think it solves that problem really well and without a lot of frivolous stuff. So I highly recommend people check it out, not just because he's been on the show, but because I think it's a good app.
And because he's been on the show.
And because he's a friend of the community, of us in the community, the developer community. I mean, you really can't find people on the internet that are as proactive, promotional, supportive of new developers in the development community as someone like Mark. So kudos all around for everything he's doing.
Oh, for sure. So, I know whenever I've done gym workouts, I'm not in that phase right now. I do all my workout running around football, soccer, and soon lacrosse fields.
Oh my gosh.
Which are all one and the same field, essentially. That's how I get my exercise in. But yeah, looking forward to it. I'm passing along to my daughter, who I know goes to her apartment gym all the time, and was looking for something to track this sort of thing. Yeah, because it's what I wanted to track when I was at the gym. What weight was I at last time I did this particular machine? So.
On a completely unrelated track, this is taking us off the rails. I guess I have to ask about referees and officiating. Is the ultimate goal to be a tennis ref, where you simply sit back in a chair with an umbrella and a mic and you tick off really wealthy people on a court? You don't move. You don't have, you essentially lounge while a game is being played and make a little line judgments. Is that the goal? Do you work your way up from the dregs of high school football up to tennis officiating, and then you're like, this is it, I've reached the pinnacle? Is that how it goes?
Are you disparaging the really fine men and women who do the work of tennis officiating?
No, I'm just saying they look like they're having more fun than the audience when I watch tennis.
No, tennis is not on the docket to be part of it. Volleyball is within our association's reach, but we don't. The referee doesn't sit in volleyball; they stand. So, but it is indoors, so you got that working for you. But no, lacrosse was more of it fits the time frame between soccer and flag football. to where I can pretty much go from August to April with some sport going on, which means I'm constantly getting exercise. I greatly enjoy doing it, but motivation for the exercise is number 2 on the list of why I do it.
Yeah. It's
My
still...
my knee, on the other hand, has decided maybe you need to take a break for a little while.
Well, I mean, I guess they never make you do like the long jump or the 50-meter dash in the referee Olympics, and to prepare for the referee draft or whatever the heck y'all do. So
You say that, but and I apologize to the audience that we've gotten off on officiating, but Randy's trying to poke, and I'm not letting him. For soccer referees, there actually is a fitness test that you're supposed to do once a year, and it is shuttle runs and 10-minute jogs, and it's about 6 different things that you look at the fitness test. You're like, yeah, I'm going to be worn out after that. So
what I want to know is, what about the video room flop or not test? Was that person flopping, or are they really hurt? That's what I want to know about soccer refs trying to detect.
Video room doesn't tell you nearly as much as what it looks like on the field. I can tell you that for a fact. Just this being the first season, it's like, oh, that's what that looks like when they go over when nobody actually touched them. That it doesn't happen as much in high school soccer as it does at the upper levels.
Yeah,
pretty much because the referees won't put up with it. As a group, the direction seems to be, if there's no blood, there's no foul. So we tend to let them play through a lot.
So now, despite my taking us off the rails, we can't let this episode flop. So let's get to the tech. What are you looking at? Like, what's on your list?
So on the list for this year for construction specialties, because we've talked in the past about Aspire to You, and that's still, and we've talked about it on CTO Think as well. That's still a lot of back end focus based. For construction specialties, I'm looking at, well, number one, we've got our SMS messaging to chat product that we've got working for us that we probably need to tweak a little. Probably need to work on the file management of it and the ability to view all the conversations by recipient. So that's one of the items. And
so pause on that. Can we pause on that real quick?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
That means you want to take it out of Slack?
Well, I was just about to go there.
All right.
So I just spent last weekend transitioning the email from where we had when you build a company, you're just trying to get it going, right?
Yeah.
And we had essentially, when I came in, they were using personal Gmail accounts for email. Mm-hmm. And we continued that, but last weekend I sucked it up and made the big migration to everybody's on Microsoft Office. Mm-hmm. Through an Office 365 subscription, which means that if you get the Office 365 business subscription, you get all the applications that come with it, and that's even applications you've never even heard of, including one called Planner, which is Microsoft's Trello equivalent. But one of them is actually one called Teams, which is Microsoft's entry into that world of Slack, of what was the other one that starts with an S that we were talking about the other day? Spectrum, Hashboard.
I mean, now Microsoft owned Yammer. They bought Yammer years ago.
Yammer still exists. Yammer serves a slightly different purpose. because Yammer is more asynchronous,
Mm.
because it's more of a posting area than it is a chat area. And we
No,
may look
really?
into Yammer. I think so.
Well, that's not
We
how
may,
I used it a decade ago. So they must have really changed it.
and I may have to look at it and look at it as well. But what the other thing, moving everything under one umbrella, because I had to move under one umbrella, and it was either going to be Microsoft or Google.
Yeah.
And just you've known me long enough to know I love Google, and I wanted to go that direction. But I also know Google's reputation for support
Yeah.
is questionable at times. And my anti-Microsoft vibe from 5-10 years ago has completely gone away with the strides they've made in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm full on board on Microsoft right now. So anyway, you asked, does that mean we're moving from Slack? Yes, we're moving to Teams. So I've started to look into how you build a bot for Teams, because that's the first thing we have to do is move it there. Now, you and I had talked about it for public release. We don't even necessarily want it tied to a product. We may want it to have its own little web chat interface, which is another direction we can go as well. So
Well,
those are three options we have.
one, I can't, like, there's no way I could say, wow, you're choosing Microsoft over Google for a business. Mainly because it is always questionable if Google will stay dedicated to the platforms that they build.
Oh yeah.
I don't ever really knock a big company for retiring something that is sucking cash and not making a return. But the problem is, as a small company, you're really left in the lurch when they do that. And Microsoft is by far of all the software companies, if any company supports backwards compatibility with systems they've set up, Microsoft definitely does it more than other companies. They'll retire stuff, but they don't do it willy-nilly typically. The other aspect is putting everyone under one roof, like using the tools, as many tools as possible under one provider. Again, consistency, being able to use your communications in conjunction with document management, all of the software tools, that makes sense. In terms of what we've talked about for the Chasms product, has always been about allowing for the consolidation of inbound SMS and outbound SMS through the platform of choice. So even if we were to set up a dedicated chat system for that, there's going to be a lot of companies that are like, we really like Slack, we really want to use Teams. Can we integrate that with the product you're providing? So I think we're going to find that the plugins are necessary if we want to capture companies that are like, I can't foresee a company that really has a great chat system going, changing that chat system for a subset feature,
Right.
feature that we're talking about. So
Right.
I feel like it's really necessary for us, for that product, to allow those extensions, without, like, as part of, like, hey, this is not an experiment, this is what this product will do.
Right. And that's and I think by adding Teams to it, because we've already got the Slack integration, by adding a Teams integration, it's going to show us, are there any areas we need to generalize a bit more and take out of, Slack specific stuff and just make it a common component, which will only help when we go to the third step of a web chat interface and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So that's one of the items, one of the many items on my list this year. And I've got this huge dev list, and I run the company, so I'm not real sure how well that's going to work out in the long term. But the long dev list really runs along three products. One is a work order intake. When work comes in, for the longest time, what we did was somebody would sit there with the email we got from the client, input, we had a PDF template that we'd fill out and then make a PDF from it. We'd make a Trello card for it, and we'd send all that to the technician that was assigned to it. Since then, I've used Zapier to pull all that into a single process where now somebody's just filling out a Google form.
Yeah.
Zapier's pulling that information, creating the PDF, creating the Trello card, emailing the work order. So it took away a lot of that clerical work. Some real minor tweaks we want to do there. One, right now, and it all revolves around the address for the store. The first one I'm probably going to do is just let the person who's inputting it put in just the zip code instead of city, state, and zip, and then have the system do the zip code lookup and pull the city and state from that. Mm-hmm. The slightly more complex one, and it's just a matter of having the information in a database somewhere, is allow the person inputting the stuff to put in the brand and the store number. And then the system will automatically populate the address. Real minor stuff, but again, it saves 30 seconds, a minute every time we fill out a work order.
Yeah.
And there are days we have a large number of work orders come in. So everything we can do to save it is part of it. Yeah. The long-term plan there, and I don't think it'll happen this year with everything else I'm trying to get done, is that email that comes in, there's no reason that we can't just scrape the email that comes in, get all the information we need, and produce it all so that nobody even has to fill out a form. Mm-hmm. That's all well within reason to do.
Is that because the inbound emails are always of the same form, same structure?
Per client, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So they'd have to do it different for each client, but once I write one, then it's not really a big deal. I think all three of the ones I'm thinking of are all HTML emails, so fairly standard things, fields to look in. So that and just the Zapier form that I put together, the people in charge of dispatching have already said that saved them a lot of time. So they're real happy with that, and I'm just trying to make it better.
Yeah.
On the second product I'm looking to build is right now, so each client, most of our clients, I won't say all of them because that's not true. Most of our clients have their own system that those emails come from. And those clients who have the systems usually have their own phone apps as well. So what the clients are looking for us to do is to have our technicians sign into their app, log in, document the work, log out, take pictures, so on and so forth. I don't think there's any way we can get around that. But where the problem comes in is a single technician may have work orders for a variety of clients. And right now, the way we dispatch it to them is we send them an email, and we rely on them to manage that intake. What we need is a tech portal. We need a single place that they can go to and see all their work orders and when they're due, instead of us forcing it on them to keep track. So that's another thing. I've built the prototype for this, no styling, but essentially it just pulls the Trello. It hits the Trello API, finds all the cards assigned to a single technician, just gives a list.
Mm-hmm.
Where I want to go from that is I want a little bit better styling on it. I want to allow I want to allow input on the work order, so that if a technician's on site, they can go ahead and type in an update or a reason for delay or something like that. And I also want them to be able to change the due date. Now, the problem is that means they're managing work orders in two places.
So that's what I was just going to jump into. Tell me about the field. What do you call folks in the field?
We call them technicians. We call them our technicians. You can call them field service technicians.
So what devices do the technicians in the field have?
The technicians in the field usually have smartphones because for the most part, we require pictures for each work order, and they're not usually doing that with an actual camera. I did have one that was doing it with a camera. We we asked him to go ahead and do it on a smartphone, so it was easier for him to get it to us, because he was having to go back to his office, download it, so on and so forth.
So then you're talking about a smartphone interface is what you're, or a mobile interface is what you're needing to build. How pragmatic is that for the filling out forms and work orders with a phone device? Is it? I think it's more complex, perhaps, but I don't know.
I don't want the technicians to do a lot of information on that, right? Because they already have to deal with the client's system. So I don't want them to take everything they're putting in the client system and then put it in our system as well. We'll figure that out on our end. But what I would like to allow them the opportunity to do is, if they say they're going to have something done by February 1st, and for whatever reason it can no longer be done by February 1st, they can go to that work order within our system and hit, okay, this I can't do until February 7th. And I'm just picking arbitrary dates. But that I don't need, and maybe a little text description of the reason for it. There's no, I'm not looking for a lot out of it, because I don't want a ton of double entry. There's already going to be some. I'm just trying to make it as easy as I can.
So they already have to fill out something for the company, if I go to Walgreens, I'm a technician, I go to Walgreens, I got to fill out their work order. You want to eliminate double entry. So do you have the ability, we've talked about this before, do you have the ability to submit work orders to their system through an interface that you build?
Unfortunately, no, because their systems have GPS tracking. So when you log in, it says, okay, was the technician within 500 feet of the store when they said they would, when they checked in? So that prohibits that ability. So I think all I'm really looking for now, the opposite is true. I can, and we'll talk about this in a minute. I believe I can take information from the client system and put it in our system. But the other direction doesn't work because of that GPS tracking. So that ties my hands a little. At the end of the day, all I really want, the number one thing I want, is for the technicians to be able to have a single place to go to see all their work, because they don't have that today. So that's the first step. Everything else is icing on the cake, and they may not use it because it's double entry. We'll see. That's something we'll have to play with and test out. So a tech portal is the second product idea I'm working on. And then the third is just a work order dashboard for us in the office. We already have Trello.
Yeah.
So we don't really need, that is our dashboard right now. Okay. But it's all manual entry. It's all, now I improved it with the work order intake form, but it's still all manual entry. And where I'd like to get is I'd like to get to, and I'm going to leave company names out here. I'd like to get to where I can pull the data from the two companies that have their own systems, and then figure out a way to pull it from email for the third, because the third doesn't have a system we can access. They just send us emails, and then we report our work done by calling it in. So that's a different. And all this information already exists in Trello, but I don't have the reporting in Trello is not great, and it's not easy to write good reporting in Trello. So I'm essentially looking to replace what we have in Trello with its own system. So essentially what I'm saying is I need a dashboard that I can get better reporting out of. I'm really starting to get to where at the end of the week, I want to know what happened. And Trello does not tell me that. I would have had to pay attention all week to know what has happened.
So
I could write some things to hit the Trello API and get kind of a history. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to do that much effort, I might as well rewrite the rest of it as well.
So this now segues into build and buy, but I first want to ask you, what is your rank in this company?
I am the COO, and I essentially run the company.
And you're also the CTO.
Correct.
And you're also the lowest level tech dev.
Correct.
How sustainable is that?
I don't know.
So then,
because what I do end up doing is I end up I've given away some of the higher responsibilities. So instead of being the single point of contact for each client, I've pushed that to the people who are managing those accounts, which was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So that's a positive step, but you're on the good point. So I'm going to let you continue on that point.
Is it safe to say, this is a loaded question, but is it safe to say that you enjoy doing the tech projects more than most COOs would enjoy doing them?
Well, of course.
So,
and that's just it. Is we've talked about this in the past. There are thousands of these systems out there, and I'm about to write another one.
Yes, and that's what we're getting to. But you're doing this not because you don't trust someone else to do it. It's way more of all the roles you have in this company, developing technology, making these different tools work together is probably more fun than the other pieces.
Yeah, it's fun until it doesn't work, and then it's just a pain in the butt.
So tell me how is it amongst all these tools that none of them are solving the problem 80% of the way you need it to?
And you phrase that perfectly, which is 80%. They probably do. We, about 4 or 5 months ago, and I think we talked about this, about 4 or 5 months ago, we went through a cycle of getting trial accounts for 2 different ones and taking a demo of a third one that wasn't ready yet, but was going to be ready, I think, next month.
Yeah.
Of the 2 we did trial accounts for, I won't even say they got us 80% there. They got us about 60% there. And then there was another 90% of stuff we will never use.
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't fit in what we do. So that was a real hard, it was hard to get the team to say, yeah, we can do this and we'll work around their pain points. We'll work around all that. It's one of those things. So of the two we took a trial demo of, we just didn't feel it would work. Of the one we saw a demo of that they were building, it was great. It's a great system. It probably is 80 to 90% there. It also was exorbitantly expensive.
Yeah.
It was 5 to 10 times the amount of these other systems. And the sticker shock alone was like, whoa, wait a minute. And I sent her a note back. I said, system's great, does everything that we're looking to do, but you must be building this for larger companies than ours, because this is, and the pricing kind of spoke to that as well, because it was bucketed per user pricing.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the feeling that the bucket we were in was like the 1 to 50 bucket, and we're 1 to 5 buckets. So that's the issue we had with those three. So if I were to project and say, let's say I paid the money for that most expensive one because it fit almost everything I could do, I could either pay that money and get most of what I want and get to where I don't have to support it, or I could pick up some of the development myself, maybe get some done outside the company, get others to do it and pay them to work on it. And the cost would come about the same, if not a little less.
Yeah.
And yet I'd get exactly what I want, nice and tight. Now, it does mean I'd have to support it. So I don't have a good answer here.
So can I pause on this? Let me ask a question. So we've covered that you like to do the development. That's why you're doing it right now. Obviously, there are tools out there that can get you close to what you need. They obviously will do more than you need, but in some ways, who cares? If they cover what you need, your focus shouldn't be on, well, they do all these other things I don't care about, unless you're paying for that extra. Like, hey, we're paying a premium for features that really we don't need. And that's why we're paying more. But let me ask you about your time again. And this is more than, hey, you're COO. You kind of acknowledge that your role is to the lead of the company. And the reason why most CEOs, leads of companies, hire a tech staff and have other people do things is because they have really one major role in the company, external to the company, which is sales and interfacing with clients. And that is a time-consuming chore. In addition to running the people, which is what a COO does internally, and keeping that kind of together. So what I am curious about is who is doing the sales and the growth and expanding the revenues for the company while you're doing these other things.
Yeah. So it's an interesting arrangement. The short of it is we have someone who is in the industry with another company, complementary services but not competing services.
Yeah.
Who we're really tight with, that makes a lot of the introductions for us, and then we close the sales.
Yeah.
So for the most part, it's on me to do that.
So then really, I don't care about the details. Like what I'm getting at more is, should you, this is a non-technical question for a technical podcast. Should you be switching gears in your role to either outsourcing or at least assigning the technical tasks so that you can do the less fun sales part just because of your role?
I would much rather outsource the sales part.
Yeah. Okay. That's a
And
strategy.
And that's the direction we will probably end up going. And that doesn't mean I don't have responsibilities in sales. I absolutely do. But if I don't have to be the one generating the lead, and if all I need to be is there to close the lead, and make the final push, I can do that. You're not wrong. The last month or two, and we're taking this in a slightly different direction than we have in the past. We've talked business here before, and I think this is a real good small business conversation. The last 6 weeks or so, I've felt like, holy cow, I've got a lot of things that I'm doing that I don't know if I can get them all done and get them all done properly. We've got 2 conventions coming up. I've got to get all the materials ordered for those conventions. I've got to get all the artwork done for those. And when I say I have to, someone has to. And right now I'm very picky about the branding, so I'm doing it. Now I'm bringing in designers to do the actual design work because mine would look like crap. But it's funneling through me. I'm the one who just went through the whole, mail system overchange. So there's been a lot of that weight that I've been feeling as leading a small company. And here I am planning to add development tasks on top of it.
That's what I'm getting to. It's like, my man, you are, this is very relevant to building a product and building an app. Everybody that I've ever heard on a podcast talking about a business they built, if you listen to any of the indie hacker podcasts or read their blog post, almost everyone that is talking about a successful company has had to hire technology people and operations people and sales people, or they become the salesperson. It's a very normal process. What happened? But the question is, when are you going to understand for yourself? And I'm not even implying that you have hit that point. There is a tipping point where you have to say, I am no longer the right person for this job. And
right.
You just said to me that you have a salesperson, you want to outsource that piece, but anything related to a conference, that's sales, man. So
yeah,
you are doing sales. You just aren't, you're putting sales in the category of cold calling and connections. And my thing is, I guess you are gonna for a growing company in your role for the product that you all sell, which is our services in the maintenance realm. Where are you going to make the choice for where you outsource, where you hire? What is the best use of your time? Every product developer has to make that choice. I'm curious where you think you are.
I don't think we're there yet. I do weigh that. Okay. I appreciate you bringing out the conversation. But it's not something that I haven't been wrestling with. I think at the size we're at, I can continue to handle all of that for now. By the end of 2019, if we get to the size I hope to be at, I'm gonna have to have gotten some help along the way.
So let me ask: you're giving me an arbitrary end of year. So somewhere in your brain, 365 days is the number that you're making a new choice. My question is: are you going to? Is it going to be burnout that forces your hand? Are you going to let that be the choice, or is 365 a real number that Or is that just like, hey, every year we make choices, or like, where are you
No,
getting your timing?
That's a finger in the air, feeling the wind. It's a yeah. I guarantee there's going to be one or two bouts of burnout along the way this year, if I go down this path. I do
But
think
there's
it's
a danger
arbitrary,
there.
but
There's
yeah, there is.
because you have put you're at the lead, you're at the top. Any burnout that you have is a cascading effect down the
But I
line.
don't. I hear that, but I don't think the burnout will manifest itself in the leading of the company. If the burnout manifests itself, it's going to be in the development of the tools. That will be the first thing to go.
Mm-hmm.
So what that'll mean is that means that the tools aren't done yet.
Yeah,
and they won't get done in the time frame that I'm hoping to get them done. Nothing we've talked about is a significant development effort, but it's not insignificant either.
it's
And I'm not
it's
looking.
multitasking for you to do it.
It's multitasking, and part of it is going to be 9 to 5, 9 to 6. My head is in the running of the company. If I can set aside a couple hours sometimes to just drive a couple of development changes through, I will. But then the development's got to come after hours. That's the only way to make that all work.
Mm-hmm.
So you're absolutely 100% right that I don't know how it all gets done, but I'm also sitting here not comfortable with my alternatives either.
Which is hiring people to do it.
Hiring people to do it or buying one of the products that we feel are mediocre fits. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But companies, in hindsight, of our other jobs we've been in,
Yep.
every single company I've ever been a part of has bought quote unquote mediocre tools that they don't have to maintain. Like, there's trade-offs for those mediocre tools, because, like, yes, it would be awesome if every technician had a brand new sparkling Honda van to take to all the job sites, but you're really going to settle for a 2002 Ford Ram or something. To
Ford Ram.
I don't know cars anymore. But
I was going to say, you have not driven in a while, my friend.
But my point is that the tools don't have to be perfect to take a significant weight off of the process.
They do. Here's the resistance. If they don't fit, then I'm going to be sitting there working on APIs to make them fit. I'm going to be doing it anyway. I will not be able to stand aside and let imperfect tools sit. I just know I won't, because I've never done that in any other job I've had where the tools didn't fit. We either found other tools or we made the tool. We spent effort to make the tools better.
Okay, so this is another product discussion, because so many people developing products get into a perfection. Like, everything you're saying to me is about perfection, the right tool that does everything we need. And if we get a mediocre one, I'm going to be trying to change everything to make it perfect. And my question is it more effective for you to look in the mirror and then grab within and say, I need to let go of this perfectionist attitude for how we're going to utilize technology in this company? Because you don't have it perfect right now and you're doing well. So why would making it perfect in the future change that so drastically? It's your own And I'm not isolating it to you, because
Yep, yep, yep.
I'm not any less guilty of this. My question is, how do you let go of the perfectionism attitude you have around technology? You don't have this attitude around sales. You don't have this attitude around other parts of the business. Because I've seen your conversations with people, and there are levels of delivery of the services that you are able to say, that's good enough. And I don't think you
Right.
think 2 seconds about it. But because you grew up in the technology realm, the product building realm, you have a perfectionist attitude that is counterproductive, in my opinion.
I won't argue too much against it. I'll say that it's perfectionism to a degree. Um, every every tool I'm thinking of putting in the system is an improvement. The tools we looked to buy did not feel like improvements. They felt like we were doing it because we knew we were getting bigger and we had to do something. They didn't feel like improvements, right? Um, so that's why I'm still holding on to the maybe we build this thing, um, just because it's the scope is so much less than that other stuff, and that's why I said if the burnout comes, the first thing that'll go is the tool building,
Yeah.
because we are doing fine right now. If we were double the number of people we have doing dispatching, would that be the case? Probably. I'd probably feel even more out of touch. So I'd probably be looking even harder at the reporting end of stuff. And maybe that just comes down to, okay, people who report to me every week, I need you to create a report for me. How you do it's up to you. I don't care. But you need to report to me on these items. I'm trying to get technology to do that for me, instead of passing that down to the people.
Yep.
So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely going to be the angel on my shoulder going, why are you behaving this way?
Well,
But I
I
don't
don't.
think I don't think I can avoid it right now.
I'm only. As you grow up in a business and a career, you start to have different perspectives. And my perspective at this point is that perfection, you never achieve perfectionism, and you waste a lot of time trying to be perfect. That doesn't mean do it sloppily. That doesn't mean do half-assed. That means that your ability to do things all by yourself is greatly overrated, and your
Right.
ability to do it perfect is never achievable. Like there's so many factors that come into play that you don't have. It's not that you can't do them; you don't have time. And so at the very beginning of the episode, I asked, "What is your role in this company?" And we're talking the things that you're talking about, where you are perfectionists about, which is understandable, doesn't fit into what propels your company as much, in my opinion. So it's
You're
it's almost
you're not you're not go ahead.
I'm only trying to say I'm only recommending that you keep in check or consistently internalize and review your approach to technology, because you are greatly motivated by previous jobs. But I'm also not telling you tomorrow outsource everything. That's not going to make you satisfied either, and you have to balance that. So
Yeah.
I'm more of saying, hey, if you have a year, like, don't wait a year to start asking yourself constantly, am I focused in my role as CEO or COO plus, whatever you want to call it? What should I be focused on? Who's the best person for the job? Even if I don't internally know, every bit of the tech happening, or that the company
Well,
we hire isn't hitting every single check mark on our feature list. That's all I'm trying to
yeah,
say.
and here's so good. I think you putting it that way has helped me frame the discussion. Okay, because this is what the decision came down to. The decision came down to paying for tools that weren't perfect and didn't provide what I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, or paying, and on that same side of the scale is, or paying an exorbitant amount for a tool that was pretty close. The other side of the scale is building purpose-driven tools, specific purpose-driven tools, as opposed to an overall system, building specific purpose-driven tools to get the information and get the workflow that I want. And by doing so, knowing that I will probably eventually have to hire a developer, at least part-time, to continue those, to enhance those, to maintain those, because eventually I'm probably not going to be able to stay on top of them the whole way.
Yeah.
So my choice was pay for a tool that I don't like, or pay for a developer to work on tools that I do like. That's where knowing that the full burden of every dollar this company spends falls on my shoulders.
Yeah.
Which direction did I want to spend those dollars? I think my answer is I'm willing to spend the dollars to get somebody to help me put it the way I think this company needs it,
Yeah.
as opposed to expending the money and the effort to conform the company to the tool we choose.
Yep.
That's the balance I chose.
Yep. And I can't argue. I just want you to be, as a friend, I want you to be making the choice one way or the other, where you are not the sole. The third option is I do it all myself, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think you can do that.
That is the option in January of 2019. How long that stays the option is the question, right?
Yeah.
Because everything we talked about building, the three things I listed out, none of them are outside my ability. Okay. I'm not going to make them pretty. Okay. This is not for selling as a commercial product. They don't need to be pretty. They need to work.
Yeah.
And the part we didn't even talk about was that whole dashboard part. That involves pulling in data from the companies, neither of which have a public API that they're willing to give me. One of them has an API, but told me I was too small to use it, which my jaw dropped when they told me that. I'm like, how is that even possible?
Well, there's always an API.
How is that? How is that even a thought that I'm too small to use your API? What makes me too small? Why is that a burden to you?
Well, that's a support issue on their side, but there's always an API. Sometimes it's just the capybara headless browser approach of log in as the user and extract data.
Yes, that is the direction that I may end up going.
I've
already done it for one of them about 12, 18 months ago. I just have to pull it back up and refresh it.
Like the other day, this is slightly related. I talked to a woman that works for VeriSign. It's a company based in Kansas City, and their true model is that they log in on behalf of companies to FedEx and UPS and other shipping companies to consolidate shipment data. And it's like an unofficial API, and the shipping companies know about it, but they don't support it, so to speak.
Right.
And so basically this company constantly is on the lookout for changes on the login process for users to see, like, how do we need to adjust our software? That is the API. That is an API. They just, it's never described as such.
I want to I want to hold you going any further into this because this is a perfect topic for a future episode.
Okay.
Especially after I've done a little bit of work on it. This is a perfect topic because we're talking about screen scraping. That's the common term for it. That's the dirty term for it.
Yeah.
There are robot.txt files that you're supposed to obey and not screen scrape. But if your robot acts and behaves like a human and does not pound the system like a robot would,
yeah,
are you fundamentally being a human and not a robot? It's all a great discussion that I want to have. I don't want to turn this episode into a 2-hour episode, though. So we're gonna put this one on pause and have it another day.
Speaking of future topics,
I think this is a great episode.
What? Speaking of future topics, what is the topic of this episode? We've gone all over the place, which is not bad. It's always one of those conversations where we
the topic of this episode was more what are my plans for 2019 and how can Randy talk me out?
It doesn't make for a great title, but it's certainly an interesting topic.
So yeah. Randy, I think what I'm doing is I'm offering you a sales job if you want to come help sell.
I don't know if I would ever do sales well. I assume if I focused on it, I would, but I don't know that I have I don't think I have the steel gut for rejection at that rate, but who knows?
Yeah. I don't love it. I don't love it. That's for sure. It's part of running a company though.
Oh yeah.
At the end of the day. You know that from your freelance work, you're still selling.
Yeah, that's what I call it. I don't always know that it's still like in consulting by far, like when it's interesting because when I interview for gigs, like for full-time gigs, people are like, why would you leave the company you started? And I don't know how to explain to them, in order for this consulting company to succeed, I have to embrace sales more than I embrace the product development that I love. And it does not bother me to manage people. It does not bother me to manage products, to work with other people. The sales process to me is the most inefficient ROI that my bones feel, so to speak.
Right. No, there was a great podcast I just listened to on the Transistor podcast. What's it called? Build Your SaaS.
Yep.
He just did a great one on marketing your SaaS.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, marketing sales, they're kind of in the same bucket. It's all work you have to do away from your product that increases the customers. So.
All right.
Lots of good stuff.
So what have we? So where are we right now?
Good luck picking a title. That's your job.
Yes.
I get to edit this, and you get to figure out the title for it.
Awesome.
So, I think we're good though. Thank you for the conversation. It helped frame some things in my mind though.
Yeah. Sounds great.
All right. Great. Have a great week.
Talk to you later.
Thanks for listening to This Old App. Show notes and previous episodes can be found on our website at www.thisoldapp.online. Reviews on Apple iTunes are always appreciated and help promote the show. For questions, comments, or things you would like to hear on future shows, please email us at hello@thisoldapp.online. Show music is Guns Blazing by Fab Claxton, licensed by Pond 5. Voiceover work by MeganVoices.com. You'll hear from us soon.